don't know where the story is going. Basically every single character in this book sucks. What the heck is going on? Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We're just gonna do another episode of TBR Takedown this week. I love these types of reading vlogs where I just focus on my physical TBR. I can kind of do a mix of mood reading while prioritizing my monthly TBR, and I don't know, I just feel like these types of reading vlogs are just a lot of fun where I can just kind of choose what I want to read next and kind of have the freedom to do that. My physical TBR at this point in time stands at 57, which I think is better than our last TBR takedown episode that we did. So we are slowly succeeding at chipping away on the physical TBR again. So that's great. But there are, oh my goodness, there are some books that are staring at me from across the room right now that I'm so excited to pick up. So I think this is going to be a really great week of reading. The first book I'm going to pick up today is actually not on my May TBR, but it is a book that I want to read as soon as possible, and that is The Last Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. You guys know I've been so excited to pick this one up. This one is a little bit time pressing for me because in about a week, Fonda Lee is actually coming to Toronto for her book tour for this book, and I did get tickets to see her on tour, and I love being able to read the book before going to the book tour because then a lot of the conversation I feel like hits harder when you know what they're talking about. So I'm really excited to get into this one. It's a standalone sci-fi. It's a space opera. We follow Isako, who is a legendary swordswoman who gets hired, I think, contract to contract to, I don't know, do whatever a space swordswoman does. But as she's about to retire, she gets offered a last contract that she can't refuse. But this last contract is from the rival of her previous employer, and I think she gets tied into all of this corporate samurai world. Funny thing is, I actually have 2 copies of this book because I ordered my book of the month, but before my book of the month arrived, I actually received an art copy of this book, and I did not know that this was coming, so I have now been blessed with 2 copies of this book. I think I might read my art copy if I'm gonna be honest, just because I like the feeling of this paperback. It's very floppy. I like the feel of like the texture of it. There's something that's making me happy about it. So I might just read the art copy. I've kind of done a little side by side of them and they seem to be kind of the same. The only thing I was really missing from the art copy was this kind of like diagram and little blurb at the beginning. So I'm gonna read this part on my book of the month copy and then I'll just read my art copy. Anyways, let's just get straight into reading. I'm so excited. Okay, I read 50 pages last night. I'm gonna give you my initial thoughts, but first things first, let's just quickly get ready together because I do have a fun book event tonight. I also do want to thank Merit for sponsoring this video. As a minimalist makeup girly, I have been absolutely loving their products. They're all in this really cute makeup bag that I have as well. But yeah, let's just put myself together a little bit today because I am going out to a bookish event hosted by my favorite indie bookstore, of course, Hopeless Romantic Books. And so I thought I would put myself together today. First things first, I do need to prep my skin using this great Skin Instant Glow Serum. One of the best things about Merit is all their products go really well together. So this serum just helps with amazing skin prep. It helps everything kind of like stay on your face too, and also helps with blendability as well. Oh, I feel like I'm glowing already. Next, I use their minimalist stick. This is actually perfect for the minimalist in me. Like, it's literally called the minimalist, but what I love about this is if you don't want to like put foundation on your full face, you can use this stick wherever you want to on your face. So wherever you desire, you want coverage. And what I love also about this product is you can't mess it up. And as someone, again, who doesn't always do makeup, sometimes makeup can feel very overwhelming to me, and I love how easy to use and foolproof Merit products are as well. I'll actually do a little bit more down here because you know this pimple that I had a while ago? It's healed, but it's still just like pigmented. Like, it's just still a dark spot on my face. Next up, the bronzing stick. Again, no one's gonna call me a contouring expert, but these products are just so easy to use. And somehow it all ends up looking good, I promise. I think also with just like the changing in seasons from winter to spring, I've been wanting to brighten myself up and like actually put myself together on some days, along with all the social events and everything that come along with warmer weather. I'm using this Flush Bomb next for a bit of color. This is the Cheeky shade. made. And yeah, while I'm always just a minimalist girly at home, sometimes it's nice to just like do myself up a little for when I have events and stuff like I do today. Let's just blend that in. Another reason I do have a past of kind of avoiding makeup is my skin can be very sensitive and can react very poorly to certain makeup products, but with Merit, their products are safe for sensitive skin, so I love that as well. And I'm just gonna finish this off with a little mascara, just like this. And just like that, we are ready for the day. So I absolutely love Merit. I love all their products. I love how their makeup makes me feel. So if you do want to check out Merit, click the link in my description box below. You'll be able to see all my Merit favorites, and you can also get 15% off. You will also get a free Merit signature makeup bag with your first order. So that's always definitely a bonus as well. I really do love this bag. So thank you, Merit, again for sponsoring this video, really helping me liven up for the spring and the summer, and actually like inspiring me to put on makeup. So definitely check them out. About the last contract of Isako. So I did read the first 50 pages last night, and I'm really loving this so far. I like the environment, the setup, the world. I love Isako as our main character already. Just all good things to say so far, which is incredible. So first things first, the world, there are elements of it that are reminding me a little bit of Blood Over Brighthaven, which is really cool in terms of the setting. We are on another planet. We're not on Earth anymore, and basically our population on this planet is working to terraform it. So the entire, I guess, society on this planet is all like in one big company, one big workforce, and there are multiple divisions in this workforce. The division Isako is in, though, has not been doing well because in previous years they were at a war with another division and they kind of lost that war. So their finances, everything is kind of falling apart, and there are a lot of layoffs that are happening in her department. And Isako, as the contractor, as the swordswoman, kind of like a bodyguard of the director of her division, is the one who is tasked to fire people essentially. And this can get kind of dangerous because apparently like these people can get violent sometimes when they get fired and actually try and strike back physically. So that's how we kind of open up this book, and it was just such an interesting concept to read about. I did not expect that, but I had a lot of fun with it. And the world does remind me of Blood Over Brighthaven because we have this one city that is kind of enclosed in a dome kind of a thing, it seems like. And while the dome is comfortable enough to live in, outside the dome we have a planet that is very cold, wintry, very uninhabitable for humans, and so you basically need to live in this dome. If you go outside of the dome, like your body will literally not last. The structure and hierarchy of everything too is very enforced, and that is reminding me of Blood Over Brighthaven as well, so that's cool. But apart from that, the story is, I think, quite different. Our protagonist Isako is also very different from Siona. Actually, they have some similarities in the sense that they're both women who are very ambitious and honestly really truly successful in what they're doing. So Isako is a legendary swordswoman. She's made it up to the A tier of being a contractor, which is the highest tier you can get. But while she's ambitious and successful and kind of this fierce swordswoman, you can tell she's also very caring. She does seem like a bit of a lone wolf. She doesn't have that many people in her life. I think just kind of comes with the nature of this world and her job and everything. But for the few people she does have in her life, she seems like a truly caring person. She does care deeply. She just doesn't have that many people to care for. She doesn't have that many attachments. So I really like her as a character as well. The writing I love. I always love Fonda Lee writing, so I already knew I would enjoy that. And I'm just really excited to continue reading. This is giving me kind of eerie dystopian vibes. Like with living on this planet, we're not on Earth anymore. We're kind of forming a new kind of civilization. And there are definitely some eerie elements to this dystopian space world. I'm not going to give you the specifics of that, but there definitely are some traditions and customs in this society that are just a little off-putting in like the greatest way when you're reading about them. So love this so far. Gonna continue reading it, and yeah, I'm happy it's living up. Okay, I've made it to around page 300 in the last contract of Isako. I am getting to kind of like the third act, I want to say, of this book, and I am really still enjoying it so far. I do still love Isako as our main character. I just feel like it is so interesting following this type of a space opera story told from the POV of someone who is a little bit older, because Isako has had a life, you know. Is she 40 or 50? I can't remember, but she's like a mother, you know. She has a mother with a daughter that is pretty much already grown up, and Isako, as this A-tier swordswoman, has already passed her prime by the start of this book, and we will see so many moments of just, you know, she'll do a bit of action in a fighting scene and she'll be like, oh yeah, my knee's giving out because, you know, I'm in an older body now, I'm past my prime, all of these little mistakes I would not have made 20 years ago, but here I am, old and doing kind of my last final contract. I feel like having a character like that in a story like this is just something we don't get a lot of the time. I feel like we tend to get these stories from characters who are younger, maybe just coming into their powers or just training to reach their goals. And we see a lot of those characters, yeah, in their prime as they go through these really exciting stories. But like, Isako's already been through it all. She's lived a life. And I just kind of love Fonda Lee's decision of having her main character like this, because one of the major themes in this book, and I think we see this a lot in just a lot of dystopian in general, is we see our characters as they start questioning the system they're living in, as they start seeing kind of like weird, maybe corrupt things. Maybe they have just been compliant with the rules that they've been living with for too long and they've never really looked into it or questioned why they're doing the things they're doing, and those topics are starting to come up. And I feel like almost hits harder when you're getting an older character kind of come to those realizations, because they've been in the system for even longer. They've been feeding into the system their entire lives. It's not just someone new who is like a young revolutionary trying to make a change, you know? There is a lot of kind of guilt attached to that, and I think the exploration into that is really cool in this as well. All of the world building too is just really cool. The way we have set up this planet to be just one big company. Parts of it almost remind me of something like Severance, because everyone has like just their very uniquely divided tasks, all the departments and everything, and the divisions, like everyone is just so specified. What else do I love about this? I'm loving the relationships, the connections with other characters in this. We have family relationships, we have friendships, we have a lot of platonic love, which is something that I've been really enjoying reading recently. And I just really like the direction this is taking. Something Fonda Lee will do every single time is do something really unexpected with the overall pacing and structure of the story. Things that you expect won't happen till the very end of the book will happen in the first third of the book or the first half of the book. And then because that throws you off the whole pacing, you're like, I didn't expect this to happen till like the very end, the climax of the story. Because that's already happened, the rest of the book feels so unpredictable, because now you're just like, we've gone off script now, we've gone off the rails. Where could this story go from here? And I think that is just so exciting to read. I will say this book there is some fun action in here, but it is more kind of intelligence, kind of gathering intel based over just like a pure action-heavy space war kind of a book. There is a lot of kind of going through little holes in the corporate system, trying to figure out how to get through that little bit of security in like the cyber net or computer net, company net? It's called company net in this book. So there is a lot of, yeah, like talking to people, getting information, gathering intel, and I think that's really fun too. But then for kind of the occasional actual like action fighting sequence that we get, those are also written incredibly well. I think Fonda is one of my favorite authors in terms of writing a physical action fighting scene. So I'm definitely thoroughly enjoying this. So happy about it, because I've been looking forward to reading this for so long since it was announced. And so I'm just gonna keep reading this. I have about 150 pages left, I think. So I'm excited to see how this concludes, because yeah, we are definitely at a part where I'm like, I don't know where the story is going. I'm gonna continue reading this book. All right, this was fun. It was fun. I really love the way that this book was structured. I don't want to say too much. I feel like I can't make too specific of a comment on this without spoiling some things, but we do have a 3-part structure in this book, and I feel like some of the narrative choices that Fonda did with those 3 parts was definitely really, really fun to read in this book. I think as we continue through the story as well, I don't know, throughout the whole thing really, we definitely did explore like humanity and what happens when technology advances, kind of like your typical space sci-fi book stuff that you would expect. I think there was definitely some sort of overlap with this and like Red Rising in that sense, in terms of, I don't know, diving into body autonomy and like what happens when technology advances so you can make these kind of upgrades to your body. That's probably something that is common in the sci-fi genre, but I personally haven't read that many space operas, so it is something that is still really interesting for me to read. I think overall I'm going to give this a 4.25. It was fun to read throughout. I feel like there was one part of it that slowed down a little bit. We were just kind of gathering little increments of info very slowly, and I did enjoy it, but it definitely slowed the pace. And I think the ending, the conclusion to the book wasn't as satisfying as I would have wanted it to be. There are a couple things that are left open at the end of the book, and I know this is a standalone, but I think there were some things that were kind of left open-ended, probably intentionally, but I feel like in a story like this, I would just prefer to have more of a conclusive, satisfying ending with all of our loose ends tied up, and we did, yeah, leave a couple of things open in here that I'm just like, I am itching for a little bit more of a conclusion. Outside of that though, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I want to grab my next book I want to read. It's across the room from me right now, but I don't know if you can see, he's kind of like below. If I lift my legs a little bit, maybe you'll see them on camera. I have a cat on my lap and I don't want to disturb him too much. I don't want to like roll over and grab my book and wake him up, but I do want to get into Yesteryear next by Caro Burke. It's on my May TBR. It's a book I have been itching to read. It's a book that I keep hearing so many good things about, so I'm gonna pick that one up next. So I'll go and grab it once Bobs wakes up, or once I just get over myself and disturb him from his sleep, which I really don't want to do. Oh my goodness. So I only actually had time yesterday to read just over 50 pages of yesterday, so not too much, but I am addicted already. I had to go to sleep last night, like I had to go to bed. It was past my bedtime, so I couldn't read on, but I wanted to. You know, this is a book where I started it as I got into bed and I wanted to just sit in bed the whole night long and continue reading this, but that would just not be very good for my health at all. So I stopped reading it, but this is really highly addictive so far. So just in case you don't know what Yesteryear is about yet, this follows an influencer and she is in that kind of trad wife niche. So she's on her TikTok, you know, raising her own chickens, having farm fresh eggs, making her jam from scratch, homemade, everything homemade, and supposedly living this really picturesque lifestyle on this farm. But behind the scenes, behind the camera, you know, what you can't see are the industrial grade ovens and fridges in her house, and you can't see her producers, her camera crew, you can't see her nannies, who are the ones who are actually taking care of her 5 children. And so there are definitely a lot of things that she is faking on social media, but at the same time she's very outspoken and she's like, this is the best way to live a traditional lifestyle, all of you guys using modern things and all that stuff, you know, it's really unhealthy for you and your kids and all that. So she's definitely a controversial figure, I guess you could call her, but one day she wakes up and she wakes up in the 1800s. She is still kind of on her farm, but everything's a little bit weird. Everything looks a lot older. Her husband's there, but looks a little bit off. She has kids there, but her kids are not completely her kids. Like, they're just a little bit strange. And so she needs to figure out what has happened, how she can get out of there and back into her current day life. But as she's in this 1800s timeline, she has to come to terms with this traditional lifestyle that she is promoting on social media and what that actually meant back in the time when this lifestyle was authentic, I guess, and real. So that is our story, and our protagonist is so highly unlikable already within the first 50 pages. I'm like, you are terrible. It is one of those books that puts you right into that mind. So you are deep into her brain. You're getting every single unfiltered thought that she thinks, and in a lot of ways, because the writing style is so blunt and so just kind of unfiltered, obvious that you're not really supposed to like this protagonist and she's kind of a horrible, very judgmental person. This is so far giving me Yellowface vibes, but obviously exploring a whole different area where Yellowface was publishing. This is Tradwife influencing, but I have realized I do love reading a highly unlikable character, and I like seeing them kind of suffer and go through these things. Hopefully, you know, that doesn't make me sound like a complete terrible person, but it is fun seeing a fictional character suffer. You know what I mean? This is also our read for our free Fable book club this month, so I'm seeing so many comments in Fable as I'm continuing to read this. I feel like this book is perfect for a book club because it is the kind of book I think that will instigate a lot of conversation and just makes your brain kind of think. So yeah, I'm on chapter 5. I am just so curious as to what direction this will continue to go in. I'm so confused as to what is happening in this book right now. I really have no idea what's going on, but it's still so addicting to read. I feel like our main character, Natalie, is for sure feeling suspicious about certain things, like how this whole thing might be an elaborate prank or a reality show or something. And there's definitely kind of proof or like signs that she's right, but she also seems like just such an unreliable narrator. Like she's giving unreliable narrator vibes. So I wouldn't be surprised if what she is observing and what she is saying, what she's telling to us is false, but I find that so fun to read at the same time. I also do think she's a really interesting character. Like on one hand, as I mentioned, she's so highly unlikable, but on the other hand, I feel like in some of the flashback chapters that we're getting, we are having, I don't know, these moments where you can kind of sympathize with her and see her upbringing and see how she really is a product of her upbringing and the adults who were around her and how she was treated by everyone. She was always kind of an outcast as she was growing up. So on one hand, you feel kind of bad for her, but then on the other hand, it's like, well, you could have figured it out. Like she could have gone one of two directions and she went in the direction that she did, which led her to be this really self-absorbed character. She's kind of religious, but she sees herself almost as this kind of saint or god of her own. Lots of interesting things going on here. I don't know how this is gonna go. I feel like signs are pointing to the fact that everything that's happening is some sort of reality show where it's all being kind of like manipulated. But then at the same time, I feel like it seems kind of too obvious, and from the reactions I've seen from everyone read this book, everyone has said that this book has really surprised them. It went in a really unexpected direction, so I'm like, it can't be a reality show because that just seems like the obvious choice right now. So we'll see what happens, but I don't have like a sound or solid theory as to what is going on at this moment in time. Good morning, guys. I am just about to reach page 300 in Yesteryear. I think I have about 100 pages remaining after this. I don't really know what to think about this book right now. I think I went into this book with such high expectations because I just kept hearing everyone say that this was going to be a wild ride. I feel like I had really high expectations. I thought this was going to be a 6-star read. I thought this was going to blow my mind, and the last 100 pages might, I still don't really know what direction we're going in or how this is going to conclude, or what the overall point of all of this was. So I think a lot of my opinion will definitely ride on these last 100 pages and what happens, but what I can say so far is this book it's not exactly what I expected. I think a big part of me expected this to be, a story of someone who actually really liked this traditional way of living, and then I thought we'd get a little bit more commentary on just like what it is to be this traditional wife figure in the family. But I feel like the way it's being depicted in this, the past timeline, like when we go back to 1855, the experience that our protagonist is having in that past timeline just doesn't seem authentic authentic, because almost the whole time we're really focused on just like, is this a reality TV show? Is this a big prank? Is this a setup? It more just seems like a suspicious thing that's happening more than an authentic, like, oh, we actually traveled through time and this is what life looks like now. I feel like because we're going this more kind of eerie, creepy, is this a setup kind of a route, we're definitely getting more excitement in that way, but less, yeah, just kind of social commentary on that. And I was expecting more of the social commentary side, but we're definitely getting more of just like the creepy, eerie, being suspicious of everyone and everything side. So while it is compelling to read, it's definitely something that I'm just thinking about and I'm like, what the heck is going on? It's just not what I expected going into a book like this. What I will say is I think a lot of the exploration into social media and how you can perform for the cameras in many ways, I think that's really interesting. Obviously, coming from, you know, me, myself, who in my current day-to-day, I do live my life like on camera more days than not. There are definitely some things that, you know, I can relate to the protagonist with, but she takes it to a whole other level, like a whole twisted level. There was a quote in here that kind of triggered the idea of like, oh, if you pretend, if you imagine that all these people are watching, you will keep yourself on track. It'll motivate you to keep going. And on one hand, I can relate to that because, you know, being someone who reads books, reviews them, makes reading vlogs, the fact that I do know that like you guys are here, it definitely does motivate me to read more so I can make more content, you know? But the difference is reading to me is very authentic and I do really love reading. But with our protagonist, Natalie here, she actually doesn't like the life she's living. She never really wanted this sort of trad wife, homestead, farmstead kind of a life. She just kind of got put into it because of social media, and that's what people on the internet expect of her. So she has made this entire online persona that is not something that she truly really believes in. It almost feels like she's kind of just convinced herself to believe this. So there are definitely, yeah, some interesting ideas kind of embedded throughout the story. Some resonate, some don't. It's still very clear that really, like, basically every single character in this book sucks. And I am really curious to see how this ends. I wonder if there will be some sort of like a big twist, shock factor moment. Let's read the last 100 pages, see how it goes, and I will give you my final rating from there. Yeah, this was not what I expected. Definitely not what I expected. I did like the ending. I think the way it wrapped up made sense, and I was starting to catch on to what was going on very close to the reveal of what actually was going on. So then when it happened, it did make sense, and a lot of the things we were getting, kind of clues and hints along the way, I'm like, why didn't I catch on to that earlier? It was a little bit more mystery thriller, less social commentary, I feel like. It was a lot more psychological and less, I don't know, big picture commentary. After reading to the end, I do think the exploration into like being an influencer, being in the public eye, what that does to you psychologically, I think that bit was a lot stronger than the actual trad wife theme. I think I'm gonna give this a 4-star. I don't think it was the 6-star read that I was expecting, but I do still think overall it was quite strong. There were definitely little bits in there where I was just like, where is this going? I mean, the entire book almost. I was like, what direction are we going in? But I do think after reading to the end, I'm like, okay, I understand. And I am glad I read it. This next book though, I've been itching for something emotional, and I think this next book I'm about to pick up is going to give me all of the emotions that I have been craving. You guys should know what it is by now because it is on my May TBR. I'm gonna pick up The Good Parts by Evann Normandin next. I'm so excited to read this. This is a memory loss trope romance book. It's by a debut author together, and I just feel like the premise is really speaking to me. I think I'm gonna really love this one. The publisher who sent me this copy also sent me a package of tissues along with this book, implying that this would get me emotional and that I would cry from it. So I'm hoping that's the case. I hope that happens. I really hope I connect really deeply to this one. But in this one, essentially we follow a couple. They're in love, but Rose, the girlfriend, ends up getting this memory erasing treatment because she has been dealing with a lot of things mentally, like grief, and she just wanted to let that go, kind of cut that out of her life. But along with this memory erasing treatment that would help her with her grief, she has also lost all of her memories of Landon, her boyfriend. So Landon gets a letter one day from Rose explaining what she's been through. She essentially doesn't remember him at all, and like basically they're not together anymore. And Landon somehow re-enters her life as a stranger now. I think he is now determined to win her back, thinking like, hey, I have convinced you to fall in love with me once, why not do it again? So Rose starts getting to know him again, but of course their relationship now is really kind of off balance. He knows so much about her and has so much baggage with her, and for her, she's just meeting a stranger and getting to know someone for the first time. So I think there's a lot of interesting things that we can explore with this relationship. So I'm gonna start the good parts. I absolutely cannot wait. Okay, I am reading this so quickly. I am almost at the halfway point, actually. It's really speeding by. So I thought it'd be good to give you guys a little reading update before I actually just like finish the book, because it honestly might happen tonight. First things first, I want to clarify something about the synopsis, just because I know a little bit more about the actual book now, and don't worry, everything I tell you happens in like the first 10 to 20 pages. So no spoilers at all, of course, but Landon and Rose were not just boyfriend and girlfriend, they were actually a married couple. I thought I would just point that out because I feel like that is kind of something significant to know when jumping into this one. Their bond was definitely a lot deeper than just like a boyfriend-girlfriend connection. They did have a life together, you know? Just thought I would let you know that. I do really like this so far. I will say kind of similar to Yesteryear, but in a very different way. This just isn't what I expected diving into this book. There's something interesting going on in this kind of alternate version of our world here. So the whole premise of this, right, is that Rose has undergone this memory erasing treatment, and so that's kind of what triggers our story. I thought that that memory erasing treatment would just be kind of like a plot device, a catalyst that, you know, all of the emotions and feelings in story starts with, and we would just kind of go on with the character development and plot from there. But surprisingly, that memory erasing treatment, it's actually a memory erasing pill, is actually, you know, quite the topic of conversation through this entire story. We are actually diving into like what that means when something like that is available in the world. We're getting secondary characters who have also taken the pill kind of talk to each other and explore what it means to undergo this treatment and why they would undergo this treatment and kind of the effects that it's really having on their mental psyche and everything. And I know I kind of referenced Severance when I was reading The Last Contract of Isako, but this is actually giving me Severance vibes in another way where like you're dividing your brain, and in Severance, you know, if you're familiar with the show, our characters' brains are essentially divided in half. You have one persona that is your work persona and your personal persona who is your out of work persona, and the two of them don't have anything to do with each other. So you have your innie, who is your work person, and your outie, who is your personal life. And the whole point of it is so like your work life doesn't leak into your personal life, like the stress from work, and then the other way around. Your personal life doesn't infiltrate into work and affect your performance or whatever. We have kind of a similar thing happening here where everyone who has taken this memory erasing pill refers to their past self before the pill as their other, and then they have their current self that, you know, is the self that has forgotten things. And we're really getting into the thick of it, of like, is this new self, this new version of you, a whole complete different person, or are you the same person that you were before when you had your memories? So definitely some interesting conversation about that. And yeah, that's giving this book a little bit more of a fiction vibe over romance. There's definitely a very strong romance line throughout the whole book, but it is, yeah, there's a lot of just exploration into all of that. I do like the writing style so far. It's very emotion heavy. It's kind of heartfelt kind of writing, if that makes sense. I will say, as I'm reading this, there are a couple sentences that are very long, like oddly long, and it takes my brain a little bit of time to parse these kind of like chunky long sentences, but that only kind of happens once in a while. Apart from that, I do enjoy the writing style. The story definitely is compelling because as we start this book, we don't really know what happened to separate this couple. So at the beginning of the story on like page 1, Landon and Rose are already kind of like separated, and as the reader, we don't really know what happened. We just know like at this moment in time, they are not together. And so throughout this book, there is this air of mystery because we don't know what happened to them. We don't know why they split up. We don't know exactly why she decided to take this pill. So we're kind of slowly learning about them, and you know, hopefully at the end of the book, we'll find out. One last thing before I continue reading is that I am enjoying the dual POV kind of narration style of this book. I have really been ranting recently about the fact that I don't really love romances that are dual POV anymore because I find that there's no mystery in them. You know, I love a mysterious love interest in the sense that you don't know what the love interest is thinking in certain moments. I feel like when you get too much of both characters' perspectives in a romance, it just, you know, erases a lot of the tension for me because you know exactly what each character is thinking of each other. But this book, while it is dual POV, we are actually getting only one POV per timeline. So for Landon's POVs, those are all in the present day timeline, and then for Rose's POV, we're just getting the past. So while we are getting dual POV, it's not like we're getting dual POV reliving the same moments in both their minds. It's very much separated in that way, and I do like that because then on one hand we get to know both of our characters within their heads, but then also we don't get too much and there is still a sense of mystery. So that is the good part so far. I'm gonna continue reading this evening. I do like this so far. I am about to finish the good parts. I think I have about 30 to 40 pages left, so we are really very much at the end. It took a lot out of me to not just finish this in bed last night while I was reading before I fell asleep, but I did feel like, you know, I wanted to finish the last 30 to 40 pages along with you guys, so I saved it for this morning. You're welcome. I just, without saying too much about the story, I cannot see this ending in a complete happy way. I can't see this becoming a perfect happily ever after, and if it does get to an HEA, like, we don't have that much time to get there. We only have 30 to 40 pages left, so I don't have a lot of hope for a happily ever after, but maybe it'll turn around. I do though, as a reader, I enjoy bittersweet kind of tragic endings as well in a whole other way, but yeah, this isn't looking completely positive at this point in the book. I am still enjoying it though. I actually really love how the romance in this book isn't completely perfect. It's not overly glamorized, it's not overly romanticized, and I know it's technically a romance book, and usually when we dive into romance we want this kind of dreamy, perfect relationship that we can swoon over, and I'm not really getting that from here. The relationship is messy. There are problems along the way. Neither of the characters is perfect. They both have had periods where they have, you know, displayed red flags and everything, so they're definitely not perfect characters. The relationship is messy, but that feels so authentic, and I am loving it in this context. Kind of throughout their entire relationship, like from when they met in college to when they got married to their situation now, both of them have been making mistakes. Both of them have been making decisions that I'm like, this is kind of morally wrong. And so if you want to dive into a book where, you know, the characters don't display red flags, it's perfect, it's kind of like a, you know, a fantastical romance in that sense, don't pick this one up. But if you do want to read something that, I don't know, feels true, real, authentic, messy, like truly messy. This is definitely a good one. We are still exploring a little bit of, you know, the pill, the memory erasing pill, and the effects that has on a person. We're getting a little bit into like, who are you without your memories? Are you really the same person, or are you completely different now? Like, is your other from before, is that person dead? And are you now just a complete separate entity? Like, how much of our person, our persona, comes from our memories versus our, I don't know, just like natural brains. We're obviously not getting like too deep into that stuff because it's, you know, we do need to spend time in this book doing the romance stuff, but I am liking the balance between the two. We're like diving a little bit into the memory stuff, diving a little bit into the romance stuff, and it's a pretty good balance for me. I would say it's almost an ideal balance for me. So that's good. But yeah, at this point, I don't really see this having a complete happy ending, but let's read the last bit of this book and just see what happens. Do you like how I haven't moved from this spot? I think this was so well done. It's, I want to give this book a 4.5, but I think it's more like a 4.25. I think just the effects of the ending and how I'm feeling with it, and just thinking of what this author has done with this book, I'm like, this is a 4.5. I love the idea of it, but I think there were just a few moments in there. Maybe some of the writing style, as I said, like at the beginning of the book, some of the sentences were feeling a little bit too long, kind of clunky. I think that did smooth out as the book went on, but I think because of things like that, I don't think this is a full 4.5, but like it could be. Maybe when this book comes out, some of that clunkiness is edited out, and maybe the full published version of this book would be a 4.5, but yeah, there are just a couple things that are stopping this book from getting to that level. But this was so good. I would definitely recommend it. With a warning though, this, I wouldn't even call this a romance book. It's more a romantic fiction. Obviously, romance is a huge part of the story and is present throughout the entire thing, but it just does not follow a romance storyline as we know it, you know, in the contemporary romance genre. But yeah, it was messy. It wasn't perfect, but it felt so real. I think morally gray is a term that gets overused these days. I don't think that's a hot take. I think we all kind of know this, but I would say this book actually did morally gray very well in a very believable way, because we are in a contemporary setting. We are following characters who are deeply flawed, and both of them make questionable moral choices at many times throughout the book. And as the reader, you can see like, that's, you know, that's kind of a red flag. That's not the right thing to choose. But even through all of their mistakes and every questionable decision they've made, you still believe the love between them. You can see their connection. It is very believable that they do really love each other. They're just deeply flawed human beings. And I love reading about that. The more I talk about this book, the more I think about it, I'm like, maybe this is a 4.5. Maybe I will give this a 4.5. You know what? Yeah, I'm feeling generous today. I think I'm gonna give this a 4.5. But yeah, I would say if you're looking for a romance, don't go into this. Only go into this if you're looking for a fiction with a strong romantic theme. That was a great book to end this reading vlog. I had high hopes for this one, and although it didn't play out in exactly the way I thought it would, it was still good. I think that was kind of a theme for this reading vlog in general, with The Last Contract of Isako, with Yesteryear, with this one. I feel like I had high expectations for all of them, and they all delivered, but just in a very different way than I thought. But I am gonna leave you guys here for now. I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know out of these 3 books if you've read any of them, what did you think of them, or are there any in this reading vlog that you would feel like you want to pick up after seeing me read it. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!